The Knights Templar, elite warrior monks of the Middle Ages dedicated to the cause of the Crusades. During the 12th and 13th centuries, the Templars, renowned as powerful cavalry fighters, struck fear into the hearts of their opponents. Each individual Templar renounced all worldly ambition and property, committing himself to the rule of his order. With absolute dedication, the Templars honed their skills for the battlefield, forging themselves into a highly disciplined combat unit. Even when greatly outnumbered, the Templars often achieved victory over their enemies. For a Templar Knight, the most elite member of the order, his armor consisted of a helmet and a shirt of mail, often called chainmail today, but known as a hauberk in the Middle Ages. This mail shirt was an expensive piece of equipment, expertly crafted and capable of protecting the knight from arrows and other weapons. The Templar's lower body was protected by iron hose and sollerets. This whole outfit was worn over a padded jacket, which provided further protection. For his weapons, the Templar would use a one-handed sword, shield, lance, a Turkish mace, which had a fixed metal head with spikes at the end of a long haft, a dagger, and a small knife for everyday use. Over his armor, the Templar wore a white surcoat and a white mantle marked with a red cross. The sight of these white-clad knights arrayed for battle must have been impressive indeed. Each knight was allowed 3 horses, and at the discretion of the Grand Master, could be allowed a 4th horse. Horses were among the Order's most valuable resources, and no expense was spared in providing the knights with the absolute best of war horses. These horses trained rigorously right along with the Templars, learning to fight in formation and losing their fear of the terrors of battle. Below the knights in rank were the sergeant brothers. They wore a black tunic marked with a red cross on the front and back, as well as a black or brown mantle. Their armor was simpler: an iron cap, a sleeveless shirt of mail, and mail hose. Rarely did the sergeants function as cavalry. The Templars emerged on the world stage as a highly competent military force during the ill-fated Second Crusade. The most prominent leader during this crusade was Louis VII, King of France, who led a large army to the east to bring aid to the Kingdom of Jerusalem. During the journey, Everard, the Templar master of France, proved to be one of Louis's most trusted counselors. As the French army made the dangerous crossing over Asia Minor, which was dominated by the Seljuk Turks, it became alarmingly apparent that King Louis was failing as a general. The king was not maintaining good discipline among the ranks of his forces, and repeated ambushes by bands of swift-mounted Turkish archers were threatening to destroy the army. It was amid these perilous circumstances that the Templars began to act as guardians of the French columns. The Turks executed a particularly devastating attack in January 1148 at Mount Cadmus, by which time the army was running low on supplies. Thus, the king put the Templars in charge of the army. Everard organized the army into units, each commanded by a Templar, all of whom were responsible to an overall commander, the Templar called Gilbert. By now, the army had already been seriously damaged, but this new organization, under the Templars, helped to shore up the remnants of the Crusader forces. Had it not been for the Templars, the whole of the army might have been destroyed. Although the Second Crusade failed, conduct of the Templars during the difficult campaign launched their reputation as greatly skilled cavalrymen. The Templars also gained fame among their Muslim enemies, who greatly feared their prowess in the field. In the coming years, the Templar cavalry would be the first line in defense of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. Aside from the tenure of Gerard of Ridderford, the Templars were not rash or fanatical in battle. In fact, they were generally quite cautious. Crusader armies were almost always greatly outnumbered by their Muslim opponents, and the Templars were in the habit of carefully weighing a situation and only committing to battle if they perceived a clear advantage. Indeed, the consequences of defeat were grave. In June of 1157, a Crusader army led by King Baldwin III of Jerusalem, which included a considerable force of Templars led by their Grand Master, Bertrand of Blankford, was marching south along the Jordan when they were ambushed by a Muslim army led by the Zengid Sultan Nur ad-Din just north of the Sea of Galilee. According to the chronicler William of Tyre, the Christians were caught completely off guard. Before they could range themselves in battle formation and rally for defense, their ranks were broken. The foe attacked them furiously at close quarters with swordplay, so that it was impossible for our men to hold together anywhere, except in very small groups. The Muslim chronicler Ibn al-Qalanisi writes that when the Franks approached them, the Muslims leapt toward them as lions to their prey and overwhelmed them with slaughter and capture, and none but a few of them escaped. This was the Battle of Lake Huleh, and it was a great victory for Nur ad-Din. Among those who managed to escape was King Baldwin himself, who along with a band of his knights fled to the castle of Safed. But among those captured were 87 Templar knights, including Grand Master Bertrand. However, King Baldwin and the Templars would gain revenge the following year. In 1158, while withdrawing from an attack on a Crusader castle near the Sea of Galilee, Nur ad-Din and his troops met a Crusader army and force of Templars led by King Baldwin III. The Crusaders immediately attacked, and the force of their charge was so intense that the Sultan's troops wavered. William of Tyre describes the action. The Christian battalions, in battle array and armed to the teeth, dashed en masse upon the Turks and made furious use of their swords. The enemy was routed with heavy losses, and the king as victor held the field with his army. The Sultan himself was able to escape, and Ibn al-Qalanisi describes Nur ad-Din's flight. He returned to his camp safely with his company and upbraided those who were the cause of his withdrawal before the Franks. This was the Battle of Butaya, a victory for the Crusaders serious enough to prompt Nur ad-Din to ask King Baldwin for a truce. However, according to Ibn al-Qalanisi, no agreement was reached. Thus, fortune varied for the Knights Templar and their crusade in the Holy Land. Without question, the greatest obstacle faced by the Templars was their fewness in number. Their Muslim opponents almost always greatly outnumbered them and could absorb far greater losses, but the loss of even a few dozen knights was a great hardship for the Templars. And yet, the fierce prowess and iron discipline of the Templar cavalry often achieved victory, even in the face of impossible odds.
Lay the sword at the altar, kneel and pray. Faith is that a soul black